My name is Asel Sartbaeva. I'm a co-founder and CEO of startup Ensilitech. We are a startup based in Bristol, at an incubator in Bristol. We spun out from University of Bath in 2020, so we are fairly new on this scene. Originally, the company started because we wanted to commercialize the technology which I've been developing at the university. And we developed this technology in order to make vaccines more accessible so that we can take vaccines anywhere around the world without refrigeration. Today, a lot of vaccines spoil because of the problems in cold chain. It's well reported that about a quarter of the vaccines might be spoiling. And in some countries around the world, in the most poorest countries around the world, something up to 50% of the vaccines are spoiling, which means people who need those life-saving vaccines are not getting them. And hence we have quite high child mortality from vaccine-preventable diseases. So our technology originally was developed for vaccines, but then in the process of developing it, we've realized that it actually is applicable as well on antibodies. So we started looking at a variety of different antibodies. And then in the process of looking at antibodies, we then saw that there is a huge need for antibody therapies too. So just to give you an example, a statistic which I found out recently is that 80% of the antibody therapies which are being used today are being used in US, EU and Canada, so in the most richest areas of the world, whilst 85% of the population are outside those areas. So people who are being diagnosed with really hard to treat diseases such as cancers, cystic fibrosis, immune diseases, are not getting those life-saving therapies at the moment because they're quite expensive to produce and because they're very quite expensive to transport, because a lot of those antibodies require not just refrigeration, but freezers, -80 centigrade storage for transport and storage. And this is where we come in. Ensilitech has a technology which can bring the antibodies from the freezers to room temperature. And then at room temperature, it will be a lot easier to transport them around the world and to bring them to places which require them today. The reason why we decided to come to this conference, to the Advanced Therapies meeting, is because we wanted to see if there is also such a need in cell and gene therapies. What I found being here for 2 days is that there is a huge need for cells to be today there's a huge need for cells to be refrigerated, frozen, but also a lot of cells are being stored even at liquid nitrogen temperature. So this is -80 centigrade. So clearly, a lot of companies are interested in preserving cells in using innovative technologies such as ours, for example, so that they don't need to use fridges, freezers, or liquid nitrogen temperatures. So it will be really interesting for us to see if we will be able to do this. I've met a lot of companies here who are interested in sharing some of their cells with us so that then we can start looking at insilication of those cells and then potentially developing a method for bringing those cells to room temperature.